All right. I don't know. They didn't do a really great job. Oh, no, they didn't solder it at all. They just twisted it on there. No soldering. That was just twisted in place. What's up, Mischief Mafia? Welcome to the channel. Today, I want to introduce you to a brand new member of the Motors and Mischief family. My wife and I used to have Jeep CJs before the kids came along, and I'm sure as some of you have experienced, kids come along and sometimes the toys have to go. The kids are finally old enough that we're able to get another Jeep, and this is what we got. It is a 2013 JK, and it only has 30,000 miles on it, and it's a stick. Pretty excited about it. Come check this thing out. Just give you a little once over. It came with a hard top and hard doors. Actually, you can see them sitting right over there on Project F250, which Project F250 is getting more and more buried. But I promise you, it is getting unburied, and we're getting back on it here very, very soon. We're almost done with all these Jeep projects. So for those of you looking for 250 project, it's coming. Hang in there. However, back to the Jeep. It did, like I said, did come with the doors and the top. But one of the main reasons for buying a Jeep Wrangler is to take the top and the doors off of it. So that's what we did, and we took it out this morning, and it was fantastic. It is super cool. If you've never done it, I love it. It's just the coolest thing. So when we have a Jeep, we usually take the top and the doors off. So it has a tow bar on the front of it. It also has a bunch of aftermarket wiring on it. So if you look here, let's see, I'm gonna light this up with my phone. Let me show you here. There's this thing right here. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but you can see there's some sort of control unit back up in there and a bunch of wiring going back up above. And if you look up here, I'm gonna put you guys behind the license plate, but if you look up there, you can see there is a plug of some sort. It's a trailer plug. If you look back up in there, you can see that there's a trailer plug that connected the lights, brake lights for the Jeep to the RV. And that goes through there and runs all the way to the back of the Jeep. The other thing I want to show you guys, as far as aftermarket wiring goes, if you look right here, we've got wiring coming out of there that's not factory. We got something right there. And if you look over here, we've got some wiring here that's coming in, and some of it's going over into this fuse box. So I absolutely hate aftermarket wiring. It drives me crazy because most of the time the people who put it in didn't know what they were doing. There's obviously plenty of people out there who know how to do wiring properly and do an excellent job at it. For some reason, I've never bought one of their cars. I always buy the guy who's got two left hands and doesn't know anything about wiring and does a horrible job installing. So I learned real early on that aftermarket wiring tends to fail when I'm way out in the woods and no way to get back when it breaks. So the first thing I like to do when I get a new used vehicle is strip out all of the aftermarket wiring. If it's something I want to keep, then I want to make sure that that wiring is installed correctly, that everything's soldered, and that it's shrink wrapped and everything is done properly. In this case, I don't want any of this stuff. We're never going to tow this Jeep behind anything. So I want all that out of there, and I want this tow bar off of it. So that's what we're going to do today. Okay guys, so we're underneath the front of the Jeep. The first thing we're going to do is pull off this skid plate, because I want to take this off and I want to deal with this wiring underneath here. So this thing's got these little clips in the front here. They look like this. You pull them down and then they pop right out. So I've been using the clip tool. Let's take the rest of those out, and we'll pull this thing down. There's 4 of them across the front here, and then 2 that come in from the back. So I've got all those out of there. Go ahead and pull that down. Oh, actually, our wiring harness is going through this. Looks like they drilled a hole. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it, because I don't want this wiring for anything, and I definitely don't need it for anything. So there we go. All right, with that off, we can see that the rest of this wiring is running back up to the engine compartment. It's going to be going back to the brakes because what that wiring is for is when you press the brakes on the RV, it's just like a trailer, just like trailer lights. They've tapped in, I guarantee you, they've tapped into the brake lights at the back of the Jeep and the turn signals, and when the and then you just plug in like it's a trailer to the RV, and when the RV hits its brakes, the brake lights will come on for the Jeep. So definitely want to get that out of there because I don't want any problems with the brake lights not going off if this was not installed properly. So we'll go ahead and trace that wiring back and see where it goes. All right, we traced that wire all the way back. It goes around the frame, and then it goes into the frame, and then it goes to the back of the Jeep, and it taps into the brake lights and stuff back there. So what I'm gonna do is, I've already cut that end, and I'm just gonna disconnect it from this end and just pull the whole thing out. Actually, before I pull it out, let me show you. This is one of those things, one of the reasons why I don't like aftermarket wiring. See that right there? Oh, where are we? Right there. See that? See how it wraps around the frame? That's not good, because if you're off-roading, drive over a stick or something like that, it goes through here, and then it'll just rip this wiring right off. So always try to keep your wiring tucked up and away. And if you have to wrap it around something like this, and you don't here, you could just come up from the other side of the frame. This was just lazy. But if you don't, then be sure to secure it real tight so that you can't get a stick or something underneath there. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this out, and let's see what we can get. All right, so that's the wiring that was running to the back of the Jeep. Like I said, I just cut it underneath because, again, we don't need this for anything. I don't know how old this wiring is, probably as old as the Jeep. And if we do need to wire anything up, we'll start with nice fresh wiring instead of 6-year-old wiring. So 7-year-old wiring, 8-year-old wiring. All right, to the back. And pro tip, you guys, or I guess according to Jake, well, I used to do it for a living, so I guess I'm a pro. Pro tip, when you're taking these JK taillights off, you don't need to take off all 4 of them. They're actually only held in on the one side here, so you just have to take off 2. But let's see here, you can see this is where the aftermarket, okay guys, and this is exactly why I don't like aftermarket wiring, and why, if we are going to keep the wiring, we want to check it ourselves. So if you're not super familiar with wiring, what we've got here is a wire coming up that's tapped into either the turn signal or the brake light on this side. But you can see all they did was wrap a piece of electrical tape around it, and this is backed off, gotten dirt and stuff on it. It's not sticky at all anymore. And if you look real closely right here, you can see they soldered it in, sort of, but I don't know. They didn't do a really great job. Oh, no, they didn't solder it at all. They just twisted it on there. No soldering, that was just twisted in place. So let's see what they've done here. Yeah, they put some solder on it, but they didn't get it actually anywhere near the wiring. So whoever was doing this didn't know how to solder. And then let's see what we got on this other one here. Oh my God. All right, yeah, that one's just twisted into place too, so. Okay, excellent illustration of how not to do it. Twisting wire in place and taping it up doesn't work. So what we need to do is fix these, and the wire has been cut into. So I think what we're gonna do, since this is all chewed up and disgusting looking, I think we're just gonna go ahead and cut these wires and put them back together properly. Now, let me show you something. So I have crimp connectors because there are times when crimp connectors are extremely useful. It's not for everything, and a lot of people do use them for everything. The problem with crimp connectors is if you don't get it crimped exactly right, if you use a pair of pliers instead of a crimp tool, they might pull out. And again, this isn't everybody. I know there's plenty of people out there who can use crimp connectors and can get them to work properly and last forever. So totally understand that. If you're one of those people and you can get away with crimp connectors, good for you. That's fantastic. I can't do it. I got to put soldered connectors on. So I have these because occasionally there are times when we need to use it, especially if it's something temporary. Those work great. But I like to solder everything. And I don't know where my soldering gun is. I like to solder everything. But if you are not into soldering or you don't know how to solder, these connectors will actually do the soldering for you. I really like these things. Actually, an engineering friend of mine showed me these things about 20 years ago. They're real common now. They weren't when he first showed them to me, but they're fantastic. So basically what you've got here is you have a piece of shrink tubing, you've got a crimp connector, and you've got a piece of solder. So what you do is you slide this over either end of the wires, and then you heat it up with a heat gun. The two crimp connectors cinch down super tight around the wire to hold it in place, and then the solder melts and melts the wires together. So you put a wire in from this side, you put a wire in from that side, and then you just hit them with a heat gun. They work fantastic. It's soldered and shrink tube all in one fell swoop, and I'll show you guys how that works because I think that's how we're going to go ahead and fix the two brake lights. So yeah, so let's do that.
Can't believe that only 2 screws hold in the taillights. Why is there 4 then?
For looks. Okay, so you can.
I also.
Did you stop that?
No.
Go ahead and stop it. So. Okay, so we're going to take these connectors, and you slide it in like this, and you go past the crimp, and you make sure that you get the wire in the solder. So there's one. And this is, the other side comes in like this. Okay, see how those are both in there? There you go. See the solder just jumped into the wiring? So that's all fixed, soldered and crimped on both sides, and got shrink tubing on it to protect it from the elements. It's a little muddy from the off-road trip. Okay, here's the other end of that wire. So we'll go ahead and fish that out of here, and it looks like they zip tied it to the body mount. All right, we went ahead off camera and got this side all hooked back together. It was exactly the same as the one that we showed you on the passenger side. I went ahead and put a little bit more loom protector on here just because this was kind of short on the factory, but you can see inside there we got the same solder connectors that we used on the other side. So that's all nice. And then I was going to go ahead and put this back together, and I noticed that there's a big old hole in the side of this thing that doesn't look factory. I'm not quite sure what that's for. I also see a big old glob of solder on here. You can see the guy who was soldering, or the person who was soldering. Actually, that's just a good tip real quick, guys. When you're soldering, it's not like wax. You don't heat the solder up and drip it onto the wires. And a lot of people think that. I know that sounds funny, but a lot of people think that you're supposed to hold the soldering iron close to the wire, get the solder hot on the soldering iron, and then let it drip onto the wires. That's not how you do it. If you do that, you end up with little pieces of solder dripped all over everything because the solder is not going to go onto the wires. It's just going to drip. What you're supposed to do is you get your wires all twisted together, you get your connector all put together. You get your wires all twisted together, and then you heat the wires up with the soldering iron, and then you touch the solder to the hot wires. If you do that, the solder will suck right into the wires, and it'll be beautiful. Everything will work fantastic. You can even use a little bit of soldering paste to help convince the solder to suck into the wires, but you don't need it. If you do it right, you can absolutely do it without the soldering paste. So, okay guys, we used some wax and grease remover on this to get all the dirt and dust off of it, get it cleaned up, and now we're just going to go ahead and seal that up. It's not perfect, but these aren't headlights, so I'm not overly concerned about it. I just want to keep the dust and the moisture and stuff out of it. So, oh, actually, you know what, guys? Look, so this used to go on here and got broken off. So that used to be right there, and this one goes in right here. And the factory puts those clips in there for a reason. It's to keep the wire from rattling against stuff so it doesn't make noise. And it also keeps the wires out of stuff that's spinning. So obviously there's nothing here that's spinning, but sometimes you've got stuff spinning and sometimes it's just gonna rattle. And I hate rattles, so we're gonna go ahead and we'll zip tie the one that's broken, and that'll be good, and then we'll plug the other one back in where it belongs. Okay, that's in there where it belongs. And this goes like this. Good. And then it all goes like just like that. Okay, all done. That part's all fixed. So we got the tow wire out. Now we need to pull out the whatever the heck all that electrical bundle is that's underneath the dash. So let's go. Let's actually start underneath the engine compartment, and then we'll follow it underneath the footwell and figure out what all that stuff is. Okay, guys, we are back up in the front of the Jeep now, and we're going to start tracing this wiring back here. So first thing we can see, first thing I want to do is, I don't know, this is obviously going to permanent hot. So this is, because it's going directly to the battery, it's always hot, which means it's hot right now. So whatever's going to the other end of this wire is powered up at the moment. That causes me a great amount of concern when I'm pulling wires out of stuff, because I don't know what's lit up. So the first thing we want to do is disconnect that so that it's not hot anymore. That'll deactivate this system. Now we're probably also going to kill the Jeep, and it probably won't run until we get this whole thing out of there, but that's okay. We'll figure out where the factory wires are. We'll get those back the way they're supposed to be. We'll get this entire system out of here, so the Jeep will only be disabled while we're taking that out. So first thing we're going to do is take this out. This other wire, if you follow it along, goes into the fuse box here. So without even looking, I can tell you that this is going over to keyed power. So we're also going to want to disconnect that. Not that we're going to turn on the keys while we're disconnecting this, but obviously we want all this stuff out of here. So first thing we'll do is disconnect this, and then we'll open this up and pull that out. All right, so Jeep is very kind to, that wasn't even tight. Jeep is very kind to put these lugs on here so that you can tap in aftermarket accessories, which is super cool. Most vehicles don't have that. Looks like we're missing a nut for one of the ground ones, so we'll have to find that. But there we go, we'll disconnect that, and that deactivates the system, whatever this thing is that's hooked up. And now I don't have to worry about any of the wires that we're cutting or splicing or doing anything to causing a problem. Okay, so now let's look at what we got going on underneath here. So okay, so yeah, keyed power, we've got that going over here. It looks like they drilled a little hole through the side of the fuse box here, and then they came around and they're using a piggyback fuse, which this is actually really cool. So we'll save this because we might want that for something else. And let's see here. Okay, so, oh, this one, okay. So this has got two in here. So what that tells me is that most likely this fuse is the fuse, or this fuse is the one that goes in right here. And then this fuse is the one that powers up this circuit right here. So we'll go ahead and, or vice versa. But either way, that's why there's two fuses there. So we will pull this one off. And we'll put that back in here, because since that's just a piggyback fuse, it means that this fuse is still doing its job. I don't know what that is, but we definitely want it to do its job. So now you can see that they just crimp connected this right here, and because they couldn't get the they couldn't get this through the wire. I don't know why they didn't. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so guys, that's why we don't crimp connect stuff. So that they didn't get that tight enough. I'm surprised that stayed together, but yeah. So normally when you crimp that together, that stays tight inside there. So anyway, that didn't work. So we will go ahead and pull these wires out of here. Okay, so these two power wires were going down to that box down below. So I just reached underneath there, cut both of these, and pulled them out. And so those are no longer powering up that system. We've got another wire that's coming up right here, this thing. So let's see, we'll trace this back and we'll see where that goes. It's also going down in here and going into the cabin. And this too, this one's going in, and I saw the other end of this wire down there. So I'm gonna cut both of those and pull all of that out. All right, guys, next step is to climb underneath the footwell here, climb into the footwell, and start figuring out where that box is connected and everything else. Okay, to get the seat out of here, you just pop these little connectors up. I'm sorry, not connectors, they're little covers. You pop those covers up. Yeah, it's got this little clip that holds it down, which is actually pretty nice. So you just pop those back. And then these are 18 millimeters. These are safety bolts, so when we put them back together, we're going to want to make sure and get them nice and tight, because not only do they hold the seat in, but they also hold in the seat belt. So, because the seat belt's connected to the seat, so it's important that those are in nice and tight. Okay, guys, and then Jeeps have a jump forward function. So when you're getting in the back, not only do they flip forward like that, but then they'll jump forward. So if you grab this and pull the whole seat forward, you can see what happened in the back here is it jumped up. That exposes these bolts. If you don't jump it forward, it'll actually stop right here and you won't be able to get into these. But if you let it jump, then it's real obvious that, or real easy to get to those bolts. Once you got those seat bolts out, then you slide the seat back and you just connect this one electrical connector that's underneath here. Okay, just like that. And whoa, that would have been bad. Almost cracked my phone in half. All right, so once you got that out, then you just grab the seat and take it out. But real easy when there's no doors on the Jeep. Okay, now we've got plenty of room to work. So now we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and lay in here, get working on this. I don't know that we can be able to get the camera underneath there, so let me get some work done on this and then I'll show you guys what I found. We've got it all back to factory. So this is where it was tied into right here. And we went ahead and we got that all taped back up and we got that all looking beautiful. So that's all reinstalled correctly. We pulled the grounds off and we got all that wiring out. So if you look underneath there, there is nothing up inside there anymore. So, except for factory stuff. So got that all done. And Jeep lost about 20 pounds of wiring. So, all right, guys, seat's back in. It's all buttoned up. You guys watch. Tell me if the brake lights are working.
Would you look at that? Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I'll come outside. Okay, now the next big test. Let's start. All right, it starts and the brake lights work. So we successfully got that, whatever the heck it was, out of there. And we got the tow thing taken out also, and lights are all fixed. So this thing now has no aftermarket wiring in it. That makes me very happy. We are definitely going to be putting more aftermarket wiring back in it because there is a winch and off-road lights and a bunch of other stuff in this thing's future. But we'll be doing those ourselves, so we will know that they're going in soldered, and we'll use all good components and everything. We'll run it properly, so it'll be great. So the last thing we got to do is pull that tow bar off. So let's do that real quick, and then we're done. All right, guys, that's it. We are all done. This is everything that came off of the Jeep. So we'll get rid of all of this. Don't need any of it anymore. And so the Jeep's a lot lighter and it's a lot more reliable. So now it's back to stock. Hope you enjoyed that. That's everything that we do when we first get a new to us vehicle. Hopefully that was entertaining. Like, subscribe. If you subscribe, you're part of the Mischief Mafia. So that's pretty awesome. And we love having you guys as part of the community. We love the support. And thanks so much for the comments and everything else. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button so you know when we're hanging out. All right, thanks so much. Peace. What is up, guys? Welcome to the channel. Nope, not gonna do that. Got a new intro. After our, there's some noisy little kids.
Because they're stomping down the street.
I don't like that. Let's do that all over again.
Dad, no.
Yeah. You learned something about, I didn't like that either.